I think we can apply a model, sort of a conceptual framework through which we can see the world in a way that'll help reveal solutions we might not otherwise have thought of, by understanding that there's an opportunity to apply multi-level process automation, rapid governance, and innovation to overcome the challenges we've traditionally had going from understanding to action in trying to execute the sense, understand, decide, act cycle that General Fogarty, our cyber commander, has proposed we adopt for the way we look at what had traditionally been articulated by John Boyd, a 1950s Air Force pilot, in observe, orient, decide, act. So if we can overcome our challenge in going from understanding to action, we can cycle that quicker. Boyd's original metaphor, not actually a metaphor, it was his actual application at the time, was in a dogfight, a pilot needs to be able to go through that cycle faster than the adversary. So they essentially are able to literally outturn the adversary mentally and outmaneuver them tactically. So in this sense, if we apply those techniques that I was proposing, I think we can help overcome our traditional difficulty, as General Fogarty had described it, going from understanding to action. And that by doing that, we can introduce a confounding rate of change that will make it difficult for adversaries to keep up. It'll allow us to gain and maintain the initiative. It'll imply greater costs on our adversaries and achieve better outcomes in cyberspace operations. As sort of an analogy for what I mean by implying greater costs, what I was able to observe, or what I observed our adversaries doing in the 2003-2004 timeframe in Iraq, was applying relatively fast, cheap, and easy solutions that were innovative and improvised, relatively unsophisticated, to employ the rocket-propelled grenade system, RPG-7, and improvised explosive devices, many times which were constructed from leftover ordnance they weren't able to use because they no longer had the weapon systems to shoot those rounds. And they were able to create pretty lethal devices that had pretty significant impacts on our operations. And our response to that was nowhere near as fast, cheap, or easy as the solution that they had designed. Our responses were to armor every vehicle at enormous cost, and to put an expensive radio in every vehicle at enormous cost. And a second layer of cost, besides just the outlay from our treasure, was that instead of spending that treasure on the development of a solution to a future problem, with some of our developmental programs, we had to spend it on the current imperative problem. And as somebody who had lived through that experience, I recognized that imperative, and I don't disagree with the application of the funds that way. But again, that fast, cheap, and easy technique used by the adversary was successful in taking the initiative away from us. Our response was slow and expensive, and slow and expensive is never going to be a winning strategy. So, as I was describing previously, if we can be able to get from understanding to action quicker, we can cycle faster through the sense, understand, decide, act cycle. We can outturn our adversaries, we can take the initiative away from them, and we can achieve the better outcomes in cyberspace. I really believe what I've heard General Nakasone, the U.S. Cybercom commander, say several times over the course of the last month, and that's the need for persistence. He's talked about persistent engagement and persistent innovation, and particularly when considering the latter, I think you can understand that we likely have a need for more knowledge and more sophistication there than we should reasonably expect from undergraduate students, and therefore a need for graduate programs and graduate students. I think there's definitely opportunity and a need for more of this than we're currently doing, and I would encourage more people to pursue that opportunity.